enjoy whiskey and beer, and one time I smoked a whole cigarette. Other than that, I'm not really what you'd call a man's man.
We drink because it's what men do.
I can't really throw a ball. I don't know how to change oil or a tire or drive a car. And I'm not particularly good at picking things up.
What kind of work?
Well, you know, odd jobs, handyman kind of stuff.
I can't do any heavy lifting.
Backpack?
No.
My whole life, there have been these dudes that just love to mock me about this. I had a roommate once who questioned my masculinity because I was chewing a fruit-flavored gum. I asked him if mint was okay or if I should just stick to the venison flavor. When I was in college, I saw the movie Best in Show for the first time. I was blown away by how funny it was. I was hanging out with some friends and some friends of friends, and someone mentioned that they had just seen it as well, and we started talking about it and quoting lines.
Why didn't he put on one of those Sherlock Holmes hats and put a little pipe in his mouth? Are they ever allowed to do anything like that, dress up a dog in a funny way?
No, that's not quite what the purpose of these shows.
Fred Willard was so funny in that movie. I started talking about that one line where he talked about how much he could bench press. Some bro guy popped out of nowhere, thinking he had just heard me say that I could bench 315. He started laughing really hard, calling me a liar, asking me why I was making stuff up to impress people, and of course started talking about my physical appearance. And then started going off about how much he could bench and how much he works out.
Great day to be doing squat thrusts and lifting our huge triangular iron weights.
I got really quiet, and then I was like, I was just quoting a movie. And then I went back to talking to the people I was talking to.
Oh, you go back and you get her busy bee! Go to the hotel and get busy bee!
I've had a lot of things that I've been insecure about in my life, but my level of manliness or physical strength isn't something that's really ever been a huge concern. I just never wanted to take myself as seriously as some of these guys do. It just never appealed to me. I mean, you be you and do what you want to do and be who you want to be, but I'm okay just being over here making my little art projects and chewing my watermelon gum.
Do you have any more gum? More gum, more gum, more gum. Do you have any more gum?
But over the last couple years, people have been calling out this social pressure to always be this manly, masculine, tobacco-spitting man who can't drink tasty cocktails or express their feelings.
And we're born with the capacity and the need to connect to others and to have community and have positive relationships. And then we raise boys in American culture to disconnect from that need, to pretend they don't have it, to pretend they're not emotional, to basically fake it, to fake that they're not fully human.
While also calling out some really awful behavior that's regularly just excused as men being men.
The Me Too movement at the heart of a bitter national flashpoint.
And just like what happens every time you even slightly challenge any group that's traditionally been on top, Fox News freaks out.
Well, dismissing and even demonizing the contributions of men throughout our history has become oh so inspiring.
Something ominous is happening to men in America.
Gillette, a company supported by men for over a century, debuted a new ad crapping all over the very same men. The video featured sinister males bullying and sexually harassing what Gillette calls toxic masculinity.
If telling people not to bully and sexually harass people is taken as an attack on you, maybe you need to ask yourself some questions.
Why is there such a war on masculinity? There is. I mean, the worst thing you can be in America today is a white heterosexual Christian male. I mean, there's an all-out war on people.
And you know that if Fox News is freaking out, you got evangelicals freaking out.
They're the same picture.
There is a war raging all around you. You may not see it because it doesn't involve traditional weapons, tanks and airplanes and bombs.
Maybe you should just learn to use this. If there's a war, just blow on it and I'll come help you.
It's a war seeking to eradicate from the face of the earth the alpha male.
No one is the same type of person in all situations. Human society is much more complicated than that. So to say that this guy is an alpha male or that guy's a beta male makes straight up zero sense.
The aggressive male, the man, and especially the Christian man.
Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. I have a link for the Patreon down below. I'm pretty good at getting the videos and podcasts demonetized, so your support really helps. Many churches and Christian organizations are super worried about men and boys.
My wife says that if a man-eating lion escaped from the zoo, it would probably starve to death because there's not enough men in this world to eat.
It's not that we parents don't want our sons living in our basements until they're 32, but the Bible encourages young men to rush to adulthood. As the world continues to encourage immaturity, biblical manhood will help the boy in your home strive to become a godly man fast.
I mean, maybe it's that, or maybe raising the minimum wage would help, lowering rent, forgiving student loans. But yeah, maybe they're just not being real men.
I'm not sitting in here just playing around with some planes.
They're whirlybirds, Dad.
Whirlybirds, whatever. Well, listen, why don't you come on down to Mama Noodles? I'll get you a job. They're always looking for delivery boys.
Dad, you know I can't drive. I'm scared of that honky horn.
But men are like trucks, and they drive straighter with a load. You dump some responsibility on a man, and it tends to straighten him out. You take the responsibility off a man, he's like a two-wheel drive in the snow. Eventually, he's in the ditch. That's how men are.
And I can tell you, I see so many young men wasting their strength in foolishness, just outright childishness, instead of becoming men.
I know this is off topic, but making these videos has really made me tired of preacher cadence and those long preacher pauses. There's this belief in evangelical churches that less and less men are going to church.
Well, first of all, you're not going to find a lot of guys in most evangelical churches. 60% of church attenders are female. 11 to 13 million more women than men in church. We say, praise God, the women love men. The least likely person to see in church is a single 20-something male.
Pew Research puts it at about 45% for men, and I've heard as much as 48%. And you have to remember that it also counts those little old church ladies who normally live longer than their husbands.
Well, isn't that special?
But let's keep going with this, because like without men, who would lead?
Today we are talking about how we as men can become better spiritual leaders for our wives.
And on the other hand, the only hope for stability and the only hope for sanity, the only hope for peace in a society is masculine, virtuous men.
So guys like this write books, sell DVDs, and go on tour to talk about why this is all happening.
The disc starts off with an old standby, Why Men Hate Going to Church, recorded in front of a live audience.
So let's say we're out duck hunting, okay? So get your shotgun across your lap. We've had a great day out duck hunting, and you know, Jeff, I just appreciate your friendship so much. And I'd like to express my love to you using some words I heard in church. Jeff, hold me close. Let your love surround me.
And don't worry, he doesn't generalize and act like all men have the same personality despite there being like billions of us.
Men think the church is for women, weirdos, and wimps.
Now, I can only speak for myself, but I love women, weirdos, and wimps.
Christian culture leans increasingly toward the feminine. We're going to have a little bit of fun with that here in a minute, but here's the big reason men don't go to church. It's hard for a man to win at church. Now, you didn't realize church was a competition, did you? Well, ladies, let me tell you something about men. With men, everything is a competition. And if we can't win, we don't want to play.
I'm the least competitive person. Wait, am I being competitive about how uncompetitive I am?
We have certain ways of hugging, but you know, if a bunch of guys are like hugging each other, we begin to look a little leery eye at that.
These are just a few examples of his many oversimplifications, but my favorite part is when he pulls this random guy up to show how men think, and instead just makes fun of the guy.
Come on up here, Alex. How are you? Good to see you. All right, so Alex, do you like to go into sports events or?
No, not really.
No, you don't? What do you like to do? What blokey type things do you like to do?
Not much.
Oh, really? And he goes to church. Okay, are you getting this? Okay. All right.
You can see how annoyed the guy is too.
Let's pretend maybe we're at a rugby match, okay?
Yep, never been to one of those. Go on.
He then tried to use the same lines he used on that duck hunt guy, but it doesn't have the same impact because different people express feelings differently. But a lot of people have bought this narrative that the reason men aren't going to church is that church isn't manly enough.
Humid, it's the humidity. Y'all might want to think about doing the same thing. Just pop your pants right off.
So they make videos like this.
No matter what our culture says, the world is waiting for men of God, men who fear God, to stand up, to speak up, and to never stop, never quit, giving their all every single day, because we see who Jesus is. We hear the good news, and if we live a life less than what He's called us to, it's an injustice.
Oh, careful there, Annie Oakley.
I don't have to be careful. I got a gun.
And by his grace, we have already won. If you think the gospel is soft, then why in the world would God slaughter his son? If you think the gospel is soft, then you just wait until he comes. And then when he comes, maybe you'll be the one that he slaughters with his tongue.
Or put on men's conferences with names like Man Up.
As we go through a concert and a conference and we break down in depth biblical manhood, that this might go from the end of a concert to the ends of the earth.
Or Man Up.
That's what we're going to be talking about, our Man Up conference this week.
Or Man Up. Like this one at Saddleback Church.
Man up.
Man up.
Man up. How do I? How do I? How do I man up?
Where they gave away a signed football. By what famous football player, you say?
Let me check that out. Guys, this is real. I did not sign this. This is Pastor Rick Warren.
You know this guy, their senior pastor. Or this one with the speaker who loves meat and loves guns.
Man up! Woo! Man up! If it's a dead animal, I eat it. I love to eat meat. I also love vegetarians. I think they are my favorite group of people on the earth because the more lettuce and carrots and celery they eat, the more meat there is for guys like me. Where I shoot bobcats off my back porch and deer off my front porch, and I've killed 3 bear with my bare hands. I'm not kidding you. I have killed 3 black bear with my bare hands.
What kind of bear is best?
That's a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear.
This hand held the barrel, this hand pulled the trigger.
Oh man, he even makes an altar call sound manly.
As I say 3, all of you that are standing, balcony and floor, I want you to come and meet me right here at the front. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes, start to move to the front. Come on right now.
All that manliness in one room, in one crowded room.
And just like Fox News, a lot of evangelicals hate the term toxic masculinity.
The feminist lie has been that patriarchy is bad. It is tyrannical. It is toxic. It needs to be destroyed.
Think about toxic masculinity. I think it's easy to put like toxic masculinity is the problem, manhood is the problem, but really like as biblical Bible believing Christians, we need to dig deeper than that and say, okay, what's really the problem here? Is masculinity the problem? Is manhood a problem? Do we need to get rid of that? And
Are men the problem?
Are men the problem? I don't think it is. I think it's the sin, the rebellion against God's good design for manhood that's really the problem.
See, there's a common thread here, and it mostly has to deal with the fact that these people don't understand what an adjective is.
As we discuss one particular issue, and that is toxic masculinity, an ongoing effort by, really it was radical feminism, but it's almost increasingly culturally accepted. You have got to be politically correct in every regard. You can show no strength. You can't do anything that might be considered having a conviction even.
You see, it's not that masculinity is necessarily toxic and bad. It's that toxic masculinity is bad.
We actually have universities now that are teaching overcoming toxic masculinity. The University of Texas, of all places, has declared masculinity to be a mental disorder. And now you stop and think about that. So the question is, where did all this come from?
Referring to a car as a dirty car isn't saying that all cars are dirty. It's saying that maybe it's time to wash your car.
What about God's good design for masculinity? And what about the men who are genuinely striving to honor God, who are genuinely like honoring women and respecting women and seeking to like cherish women and protect them? There are so many women.
Arguing that you know some really clean cars does nothing to make yours any cleaner. It's why the not all men argument is ridiculous.
So rather zeroing in and focusing just on the negative, we can step back and say, are there men in my life who are actually striving to live out God's good design for manhood, for masculinity?
Yes, it's nice to focus on the positive. And yes, it's discouraging to look at the negative. But you can't fix something if you don't first acknowledge that it's broken, which is why we're having these conversations now.
But she didn't hear it. This is just locker room talk between guys.
Now, there's actually a common misconception, okay? Lewd comments can be a form of harassment, even if directed to a third party.
But it's not for her. It's about her.
But when it comes to masculinity, or most things, evangelical leaders would rather dig in their heels and say things like, Men are the leaders.
It is easy for us to lead everybody else well at church, at work, and other areas of our lives, and fail to lead our own wives in our own home. And so today,
that men are the strong ones, women are the weak ones.
A man of God is both strong and loving. His strength and his love are intimately connected. He shows his love through his strength, and his strength is empowered by his love.
God created men for so much more.
Yeah.
He created men to be men who use their strength, who use their leadership, who use their influence to not hurt others, but to protect others and cherish others and value others.
My real dad died at childbirth. He had a weak heart. Roy says, your dad had a shit heart. He's not man.
In 1 Peter 3:7 to husbands, it says, likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life.
Well, tell everyone that you're a misogynist.
I never massaged anyone. This is what happens when you don't respect women.
I respect women. My mom's my best friend.
What about me?
They tell you that if you're a man, you act a certain way.
The men should act like men. I know it's crazy to interpret it like that, but I think that's what it means.
Do I need to be, it's like if I'm going to be a man, I need to be doing manly activities.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think so. Now, some people are naturally stronger than others. That's, again, another self-evident truth is that in general, men are stronger than women. They're faster, just...
And you talk a certain way.
In the Christian church, speaking of men that have effeminate voices, I know that I've caught myself doing it, especially when I first became a Christian and just came out of the world. And I realized then that there was a tonality to my voice and a way I talked and the way the sentences were not just structured, but how they would intonate and go higher in pitch.
Petite feet, feminine step. Sounds like a lady when he's walking in the room. He's got petite feet.
Do they not see that they are literally telling people to pretend to be something they are not in order to fit their view of what a man is? The big irony here is that with all this talk about strength, at the end of the day, the mindset is all about fear.
I don't own anything pink.
Hell yeah!
No, that's a bad thing. Am I afraid of a color?
No.
No, but I am afraid of the appearance of femininity. I'm avoiding a whole section of the light spectrum, so in a way, I am afraid of a color.
Women rise higher and higher and higher and more frequently into positions of leadership as men feel overwhelmed and overpowered and unable to fight against the trend.
Do I need to call you a wambulance?
Do you think that women in the workplace ever felt overwhelmed and unable to fight against the trend?
I just wish they would catch the guy already.
Why are you assuming it's a guy? Maybe St. Louis finally has a female serial killer.
Oh, yeah, about time. Hello, glass ceiling. You shattered.
Oh no, what would they do if they found out there was more than two genders? Oh, they heard about this?
Is between the two genders, and there are only two, by the way.
Yeah, but you could get arrested for that statement these days.
I know that. You're kicked off Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
But...
Can you? Can you get arrested for that?
The big lie today is that if you were born with the genitalia of a male, you don't have to spend your life that way. Because what you actually might be is a woman.
And God himself has said that it's an abomination for men to dress like women and women to dress like men.
Let's face it, you gotta be a man to wear tights.
I know. You don't have to be religious to fight against trans rights. And I know some of you think it's just science or whatever. But here's the thing. I don't really care why you treat people like crap. I just don't like it when you treat people like crap.
I know our presence threatens you. We fought for our place at this table. And that has made us stronger than you will ever be.
Anyways, it's all just exhausting. It's a bunch of men who are raised to behave a certain way. To be a specific type of man. To always show strength and dominance, trying to get the next generation to go through the same thing that they went through, and getting angry when they don't.
All great men have mustaches, Frank. Yeah, but real men actually grow them, huh?
No, I have a hormone disorder!
It always amazes me how upset people get that there are people out there who are different than them. I've never been in a relationship. I now realize that I'm a type of asexual, but growing up in the church, going to Bible college, and working in a church, you know that my manhood was questioned many times. You know I was accused of avoiding my manly responsibilities to start a family. And you know that I was told many times to just grow a pair and ask somebody out.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go this guy, and then we'll go on our date.
The thing is, you don't have to fit into anyone's expectations about who you should be or how you should act, because those people have no say about who you are. Their version of masculinity is outdated and unnecessary.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a leather jacket for when I'm on my hog and need to go into a controlled slide.
And just be yourself. And be happy when someone else is comfortable with their identity.
Do you remember when you needed money to start that men's jewelry store? Well, you didn't get it from Brown, you got it from us. Yeah, I had to foreclose on you, but, well, it wasn't a good idea, was it? Men in this town just don't wear jewelry.
Thanks so much for watching and making it this far. If you know someone who would benefit from this video, send it their way. And once again, thanks for all the kind words and messages and everything like that. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry if I don't go back to all of you, but I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Work, Sky Moon.